Say that again?
I'll probably film me asking you this question.
Okay.
Take your time. Hey Be Mindful fam, welcome to my channel. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. It's such a joy to spend time with you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. We talk about all things mindful here, and this video is really great. I have a special guest today, which is my mom. Well, I guess we have two special guests.
Yes.
Who is that?
That's Archimedes, also known as Archie. People ask what kind of dog he is, and I say he's a devil dog. He's a spawn of Satan.
He's also really good too. He's a sweet pup. But anyways, thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure.
Appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, Mom is a mom of 4 girls and I'm the youngest, so I'm visiting home right now. And one thing we wanted to talk about are cars. A lot of people drive long distances, and it's really important to do proper car maintenance and check certain things before you go on road trips, or just even periodically. And so we're just here to talk about some basic car stuff that I think everybody should get to know.
We should talk about first is we're going to show later on how to check your fluids in your car, and a little bit of a description about each type of fluid. And also talk about, a lot of people have fears about automobiles, and it will get you a little bit more familiar with the inner workings of the cars.
Yes.
So you can get a little bit more comfortable. We will talk about maintenance and saving money on maintenance.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, and when Mom said some people have fears, she's talking about me, right?
Well, a lot of people just throw up their hands.
Yes. So I've been very lucky to have you, because if I need anything, I call my mom. She's basically a mechanic. Now, I'd like to give people a little background here. How did you first get involved with cars?
I always was pretty mechanical, and I started to realize at some point that there were things that I could fix on my car that could save me money. Some things you have to throw over to the mechanic because you need a lift and specialized equipment and things like that. But I've always tinkered a little bit with cars.
Yeah.
And I enjoy learning about them. And currently my car is 25 years old, and it's got 300,000 miles on it, and it still runs good.
Yeah.
And periodically I have to do something here or there to it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of things that you can do, that you can learn to check, that can save you a lot of money and a lot of aggravation in the future.
Definitely. Knowing what things you can do yourself versus what you have to go to a mechanic. And if you go to a mechanic, maybe how to find a trustworthy one, the right one.
Right.
So let's just ask before we actually dive into the car. Before we do that, let's talk about, how do you know when you need to go to a mechanic, what type of mechanic, I forgot what I was going to say. When you need to go to a mechanic, what type of mechanic. Oh, and then how you know, like, if you should buy your parts ahead of time or if they should buy your parts. So number one, can you talk a little bit to how you know when you need to go to a mechanic?
You need to go to a mechanic for at least an annual safety inspection. They'll put your car up on a lift, they'll check the brakes, the exhaust, all of your lights and horn, and different things that could help you to make sure you're roadworthy and safe. If you're starting to get symptoms in your car, you know it's not starting right. The air conditioner isn't blowing cold. It pays to take some time and do some research yourself to try to narrow down the possibilities, so that you're not completely ignorant when you go to the mechanic and he says, well, I see that you need a belt, or I see that you need a discharge unit, or something like that. You'll be a little bit familiar with what his vocabulary will be. And some things need to be worked on from underneath versus through the engine compartment. There's a lot of things that can be done through the engine compartment. Especially minor electrical types of things that are often time consuming for a mechanic to troubleshoot and check. But you could do it in your time and not be paying $75 an hour.
What's an example?
Fuses, relays. A lot of cars today have a lot of sensors and modules and things like that. And there's ways to cheaply and inexpensively check them.
Yeah.
There's great resources on the internet as far as each individual type of vehicle.
So how do you know, like, what vehicle you have and then how to find out information on it.
Okay, there's the maker of your car, whether it's Toyota or Ford, Infiniti. Be able to look on any kind of registration paperwork for what's called a VIN number. It's a vehicle identification number. How to decode what the letters and numbers mean on your VIN number, and that will give you your engine size. It'll tell you things like your paint color and where your car was made and things like that.
Cool.
So it's a standardized format for the VIN numbers.
How do you know how to find a trustworthy mechanic?
Well, first it comes with going to the mechanic with a little self-education. You can type in check engine light is coming on, and there will be a checklist for your vehicle. There are forums for each type of car. There's G20 forums and there's Elantra forums, and people might have had similar problems.
Yeah.
And I find those forums to be very reliable. Talk to your friends and family and neighbors and see if they use someone that they trust. But sometimes mechanics are wrong too.
Yeah.
So you need to develop a relationship with your mechanic, and that's really important. I would avoid a dealership. If your car is under warranty, go to the dealer. But otherwise, you'll pay 2 to 3 times what you would from an average mechanic. You want to have someone who's willing to work with you if you just need them to install parts, or if you want them to do the job complete.
And you had previously mentioned that you buy your own parts.
Yes.
How do you know where to buy parts, what's expensive, and what you need to go through the mechanic for?
For instance, I needed new shocks on the rear of my car.
What is a shock?
A shock is a dampening mechanism for vibration. It's a cylinder that attaches to your car structure that keeps your car so you don't feel bumps in the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you know that you need new shocks?
They get older, they start to leak, the seals can break on them, fluid can come out. But because of the age, I thought I should replace them. And it was an optional item. It wasn't a safety item. They weren't in such bad condition. They hadn't fallen off the bracket or anything like that. So I looked online, and shocks were normally good quality, $50.
Yeah.
I found a sale for $10 for a pair. So next time I went to the mechanic, I said, hey, my mechanic's name is Rich, and he's great. Rich, I got some shocks, can you throw them in? And sometimes you can search online for parts that would be cheaper than your mechanic can get them through his services. I would recommend starting with Rock Auto, R-O-C-K.
Okay.
They have parts for just about every type of car. Then you can also get parts, more common parts, through things like O'Reilly, AutoZone, Advance Auto. In our area we have Pep Boys, and they all can offer coupons for 20 or 25% off.
Nice.
If you're buying a $400 alternator and you can go down and pick it up, you're going to get it for $300, and your mechanic is going to put it in for you, you could save $100.
Cool. We will put the descriptions to how you find that VIN number and also some of the discount sites that you can buy your own parts at below, so you guys can have those. If there's anything that we didn't cover in this video that you guys would like to know more about, write in the comments below, and perhaps we'll have a follow-up number 2 video for some more of our in-depth, advanced car mechanics.
So don't be fearful of a car.
It's scary though, I'm not gonna lie.
It is scary, it's intimidating, because you're afraid if you do something your car won't run.
I'm scared that my car will blow up on the highway. Stakes are high.
Stakes are high.
Yeah.
Well, the types of things that you might be working on in yourself, they aren't major things that your car would blow up with.
Okay, that's good to know. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It was lovely to have you on. The purpose of this video is for those viewers and subscribers that feel a little uneasy around cars and that drive your cars and take long road trips and know that there are things that you should be checking, but are a little overwhelmed with what's under the hood and a little nervous to take a step to check something or try something because you don't want any bad things to happen to your car. So I wanted to give you guys a little rundown of the 6 important fluids that are under your hood. Underneath here is the latch to the hood, which we are going to open up and check our fluids before we drive.
Once you pop that, you'll hear the hood pop, and there's a gap now here, and you'll feel along. There should be something that is like a lever, And this one is right here, and you'll push it up, and that'll raise your hood up. In the front here, or sometimes along the side, there's a little prop, and it'll go in a hole there. Sometimes the prop is over here, but it'll hold your hood up.
Nice.
So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check the battery. You'll want to check your battery terminals. If there's anything white or crusty around there, you can take a wire brush and brush it off, and that'll help you save yourself from getting a dead battery somewhere, so the battery can recharge. Then this is the coolant.
Number 1, your coolant.
And coolants are usually in a plastic container, and if you can see, they will be labeled usually on the lid, and you'll look in there to see your coolant level. There's often marks on the side that will tell you whether it's high or low.
That's the max fill right here.
Yes.
There are 2 different types of coolant or antifreeze. Check in your owner's manual to see which one works with your specific car, and make sure that your coolant and antifreeze does not run low. You want to also make sure that you're checking this fluid when your engine is off and cool. The second fluid is your oil.
Usually an oil dipstick has a round circular piece like that, and it's generally in the front of the engine. So we'll pull this out, wipe it clean. You should wait for the engine to cool or do it first thing in the morning. You never want to do this with your engine running. None of these things should be done while your engine is running. But if you look closely at this end of your, it's called the oil dipstick, there's some hash marks on there, and that is the distance for a quart. So we're going to dip it back in now that we've wiped it clean, and we're going to see how deep it is on those hash marks. Get a reading. And if you'll notice, it covered all those hash marks. So that means that the oil is full. You can also check the quality of your oil. If this is amber and kind of see-through, if it's very black, you know you need to get an oil change.
Okay. So did it start light and then mine got darker?
Yes, but yours isn't terribly dark. It doesn't seem like it needs a lot of changing. When you need to add oil comes in different thicknesses. There's 10W30, there's 5W30. Those are the 2 most common. There's also synthetic oils that people might use. And you'll want to check again your owner's manual to see what type of oil your specific vehicle calls for, and it'll tell you the quantity of oil that it holds.
The third fluid we're going to talk about is your windshield wiper fluid.
Usually also in a plastic container, usually like a white plastic. They're hidden in different places, but they usually will be really clearly marked with like a windshield and some spray. You buy them at any auto parts place, whatever's local to you. Windshield washer fluid is standard. You can get ones de-ice your windows, winter ones, summer ones that are good for bugs.
And this is something that you just want to keep topped up so that when you use your windshield wiper fluid, it is there for you. Next, we're going to talk about
brake fluid. And usually, if you look on there, it almost always says clean filler cap before removing and use only DOT3 brake fluid. So you'd want to wipe it down. You don't want any dirt falling into this container.
Okay.
And then you usually have to press it down slightly and turn it. And if you look inside the cap, there's a little spongy rubber thing.
Yeah.
And what happens is, as the fluid gets low, it'll pull that out to keep the fluid under pressure.
Does that look like full fluid?
Yes, because
it's
if you
max.
look, there's a line there that says max. And also a second clue was that little plastic rubbery thing wasn't pulled down and popped out.
The next fluid we're going to talk about.
This is your power steering fluid. Always want to clean off the caps. These get a lot of road dirt, and we had previously cleaned that. And what I do after I've checked the brake fluid, the oil, made sure that the battery is clean, I just go back again and I press in the dipstick, make sure it's well seated. Put the cooling cap, pop it again, just making sure that I have done my caps so that they're on there tight. You don't want to accidentally do it loosely.
Now I noticed that there's another stick that looks like it could be the oil
Yes.
stick. The last fluid that we're going to talk about, but we're not going to check, is the transmission fluid. This is the only fluid that should be checked while your engine is on.
It's your transmission fluid. And that needs to be checked when your engine is running. That's the only one. And it needs to be checked when your engine is warm.
Okay.
You start your car, you let it run for a few minutes, and then it's the same procedure as your oil dipstick. You'll pull it down, and you'll see also again there's hash marks on there, and you'll just add it to make sure that it's in this area here. You never want to overfill any of your fluids. The other thing that really you should do before you do a trip is check your tire pressure.
I'm actually not sure how to do that.
Okay. I have a tire pressure gauge. If you want to hold up, I'll show you how to do it.
Okay. Or could we show?
It's a regular tire pressure gauge. When you apply it to the tire, it will tell you how many pounds. You can't rely on the tire pressure gauges at the gas stations or where you're filling it up. You really should have one of these so you don't overfill your tire, because it could cause it to rupture at high speeds. Do you see this little nib here?
Mm-hmm.
If you should check it after you've filled it, and it seems to be a little too high, the tire pressure, then you can use this little nib to go into the center of the valve stem. You can just depress it and it'll allow some air to escape. Maximum tire pressure is usually printed on the outside of your tire.
350.
No.
Oh, 51 psi.
Yes, but that's not your recommended tire pressure. That's your absolute maximum.
Okay.
Check in your owner's manual and they'll tell you. Usually tire pressures run around 35.
Okay.
When you want to check your tire, you want to take this little cap off and keep this. Stick it in your pocket. You know, put it up here on the back of your car, somewhere where it's not going to roll away on the black pavement and you can't find it. Then you just take this tip with the circle and you just pop it on and it'll give you a reading.
Oh.
That was kind of hastily done, but it looked like it was around 26.
So it popped out a little more?
No, let me show you. Let's do it one more time. And you're not going to hurt anything by checking this. But if you look, do you see there's a little pin inside of there?
Yeah.
And so inside of this, it has a little pin that depresses, and then the pressure moves the little measuring bar. So this looks like another reading of around 26. So you probably, oh, I'm sorry, I had the kilograms.
Okay.
So you're at 37, which is probably optimum for this particular tire. Now before you move on to your next tire, put your cap back on. Because that little pin inside is what holds your air in your tire. And you also want to just, you know, if you're going on a long trip, you just want to have a quick little look, see if you see anything damaged with the outside of the tire, or sometimes if you hear a clicking noise when you're driving slowly, it could be a sign there's a nail in your tire.
So now we've got the owner's manual out from the glove box in my car, and we're currently going to look through and show you guys how to find out which fluids are optimum for your car.
Generally, it's either under maintenance or technical and consumer information. Gasoline,
Okay.
Unleaded gas with an octane rating of 87. Engine oil, you take 3 5/8 quart. Then your cooling system and power steering fluid. Brake fluid. So if you take this in to the auto parts place, they would be able to, help you to locate the proper fluids for your car. Sometimes they are listed, if you look in the index, under things like oil, coolant. They will have additional information. And they usually have even instructions on how to check the fluids in here.
Cool.
fluid that you really need to change regularly is your oil. Power steering, brake fluid, don't let them ever tell you you need to change that fluid. I've got 300,000 miles on the same fluids.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because it's a sealed system. Oil isn't a sealed system. You do need to flush your coolant. Corrosion can develop with the liquids, and it can rot your radiator out.
What does flush the coolant mean?
Well, what they'll do is they'll use a water supply to flush the coolant system, and then they'll drain that and then refill it.
Okay, so
With
somebody
fresh.
has to do that.
Yes, so
Okay.
you want it emptied. The two things you want emptied and replaced are oil and coolant.
Oil and coolant. And so the other fluids that we just checked, those are simply just to check.
Just to check the power steering and brake fluid,
Okay.
windshield washer fluid, those are just to check.
Okay, got it. Cool. And then there's a sticker in my car. I think it's for an oil change, so I just wanted to double check that that is what it is. Okay, so here's the sticker that says when my next service is due at 134,000 miles, and car's off so you can't see where I'm at.
The sticker that's in your window was put there by the mechanic at your last oil change, and he wants you to use that as a milestone for when you need your next oil change. It's very important to keep good, healthy oil in your car because that is what helps keep the engine cool, it helps all the metal parts to run smoothly, and having regular 5,000 to 7,000 miles, it'll help increase the longevity of your engine. So when they do the oil change, they'll usually put a mileage sticker on there to let you know,
Cool.
at these miles, make another appointment. And an oil change really shouldn't cost you more than $20, $25.
How do you know where to go for an oil change?
You could go to just a regular service center. They want you to come in and do an oil change for an inexpensive price because they're going to inspect your vehicle and try to sell you other things. So if you just need an oil change, pop into one of the national brands. You'll get a low-cost oil change.
All right, well, thank you very much. That's my dad in the background. And I appreciate your time showing me and all the viewers the awesome things about the car that everyone should be checking and know
Absolutely.
about for safety reasons and for cost investment wise. So thank you again. I love you.
You're welcome. I love you too.
Safe driving, everyone.
I'm not good at remembering dialogue. All I have to do is say 2 words. Don't forget to subscribe.
And subscribe.
And subscribe. And subscribe.
That's great. Okay.
And subscribe.
And subscribe.
And subscribe. I have to...
If you like the content of this video, don't forget to like,
And subscribe.
share it with a friend, and I'll see you next week at Be Mindful with Sarah.